Hi, welcome to Betsy's Paper Craft Room. I'm Betsy and I'm happy that you're joining me tonight. Let me just say that you can message me anytime you like on this live video, and I try to keep an eye on what's going on the screen so I can answer any questions you may have. Or if there's more than one person watching, feel free to chat among yourselves and let me know what's out there, because it gets kind of lonely on this side. Sometimes I feel like I'm just talking to myself. So anyway, tonight we are doing the Wander card making workshop with these awesome 4 cards and 2 more because I promised you shaker cards. So let's just take a quick look at these. This will be 1, 2, card number 3, and card number 4. And hopefully you've had a chance to do your prep work. Hi, Virginia. Because if you haven't done your prep work, you're not going to be able to keep up. Prep work was, hi, Rondi. Prep work was essential to keeping up tonight. So let's start with card number 1 and take a peek at the pieces that you should have prepped. And see how it's looking here. Okay, I also have notes in mine because I found even with the instructions right in front of me, I was forgetting to do things that needed to be done, and that wasn't good. So we have all of these little tiny pieces and the big pieces and your card base. And before we get started, I'm going to show you one thing that is a stamping hack that I really like. This calls for sponging on a couple of places on the cards, and we recommend that you have the round sponge. And this is how I like to use mine. I cut it, let's say I cut it into 6. This is obviously just a half because I've already used part of it. And seriously, once you have these, they last forever. I just put mine in with a little like dish soap or something to clean over and over and over again. So when you have a little pie-shaped piece like this, just take one of these paper binder clips and push it down on there. And you can see it kind of pulls it back and makes a nice rounded curve on it. And it gives you a nice handle to help keep your fingers clean. So that's what we'll be using for our sponging tonight. The first thing we're going to do is on our card base, we want to stamp the edges with sapphire. Wow. Whoa. So this little square texture stamp here is what we're going to use first with our sapphire or dark blue ink. And you're certainly more than welcome to use your own color inks if you don't have the close to my heart colors. We're going to go ahead and just stamp this up one side and down the other, and just do it right next to itself so that it looks like it's all one stamp more or less. And turn it around. All right. So once we have that stamped, let's put that aside for a moment. I'm going to get my stamp cleaner. Okay, so we're going to stamp the sentiment next, which is the I love you to the stars and back. And that's also in sapphire. And that's on this little white piece here. And we're going to go pretty much in the center, but maybe a little bit to the left because we're going to dovetail that little end on the right. There we go. And it doesn't show up very well in the picture, but there's also that little tiny border of circles. We're going to do that in Glacier. hopefully I can keep my hands out of the ink pad this time. And we're just going to do it right along that end there. And okay, once we have this stamped, let's go ahead and dovetail the end of it. And you know the rules here. Cut one small slice right in the center, edge to edge, and then cut corner to the top of that, flip it over, cut the other corner to the top of that, and you end up with a perfect dovetail. Only I forgot to tell you something here. I'm getting ahead of myself. And that's that we want to put this on this piece of paper. With all of them. And I'm going to... Okay, so I put a little bit of tape across the back of the lower edge and attached it about halfway down the yellow piece. And then we're going to cut that to match that dovetail, like that. Okay? I hope you guys are following along, okay? And let's see. Then we are going to place this on here, and that's about an inch up. Now, if you're looking at mine here, it's popped just a little bit, but I'm not going to pop it this time because on the original one, I didn't pop this large blue piece, and that's the piece that I want to pop this time. So I don't want too many levels of popping. So let's go ahead and put some some adhesive on the back of that and get that in place. And then we are going to pop this guy. I'm going to put that on there like so. But we're going to pop him with the thin foam tape. Okay, so let's place that on there like that. And now in the instructions, it showed this moon hanging down over that mountain, and that has bugged me ever since I put it on there because a moon cannot be in front of the mountains. So this moon is going to be a little bit above the mountains. And again, I'm going to just pop it with a little bit of thin foam tape. And this is the perfect time to use the thin foam tape, is when you are popping more than one layer. Oh man, let's cut that even thinner. Okay, there we go. And we're going to put it on the mink piece, but not overlapping the edge anywhere. And now we have some clouds to attach. One cloud, I'm just going to put it right on the moon so it gets the regular stuff, the regular adhesive. And then this moon, I am going to try to pop a little bit. Did I pop that one? So I'm going to put just a real small piece of the foam tape right in the center of that. And thanks, Kathy. I like Tim Holtz. He is a very interesting person. And I used to have I think I finally gave it away. An apron that I got when I took one of his classes. And well, there was something else that came out of that class, and now I can't remember what it was. Okay, I have some adhesive on the front side of this, which is not a good thing. Okay, so there we go with the front of the card. And if you want to pop this bottom piece and you haven't already glued it down like I did, go ahead and do that. We're going to turn this over and add some more thin foam tape around the edges and pop it onto here. Okay, Virginia, good question, and I have an answer that I hope you will like. The question is, how do you get to see it? Well, I can't give you any way to see it until September 1st, but I can share products and things. September 1st is when it goes live, and there's just not a link online or catalogs to purchase until that time. But this is what I am planning to do for the upcoming next 12 months. The catalog is, I have to go and make sure they haven't changed this number, but based on the past year, the 2-month catalog is $3 when I have it mailed directly from Utah to you. And that includes the catalog and the mailing. And I think the core catalog is $5 for the same thing. The core catalog comes out one time a year. Well, I would like to do this as a subscription. So if you purchase a subscription for the 6 2-month catalogs, that would be $18, and I will throw in, at my expense, the core catalog. And then that way you just pay me one time right after we get started with it for a year's subscription, and I will make sure you get that catalog every time it comes out, every 2 months. So I hope that's something that appeals to you, because I think our catalogs are always good. I mean, I just haven't seen one yet that I don't like. Sometimes they seem a little better than other times, but there's always things in there to love. And I'll tell you one thing, there are more gnomes. I love our gnomes. I know not everybody's into gnomes, but I think they're really cute and fun, especially when we get around to doing them for seasonal things. I'm trying to think of the ones in the new catalog. The core catalog really isn't a seasonal type catalog. It contains all the things that we want to show you all year long that are not like Easter or Christmas or, 4th of July or anything like that. It's all of our paper, our cardstock papers and our markers, and then things like birthday, wedding, baby, just things that people need all year long, and they're available all year long because they're in that catalog. Not done yet. So here we need sparkles. So let's put a couple of these gold gems on here. You guys, don't be afraid to call me out when I forget something, because that's the way my brain works at this age. Oh, I hate to say it, but remember the days when we thought getting old was just something that other people did? Yeah, it's not true. It happens to all of us. Okay, there we go. That's number 1. So we're going to move on to card number 2, which is this one. I really like this one. This is really a fun card. They're all fun cards. So let's go and look at what I hope you've prepped. Okay, so we have that piece cut out, the square, the little piece with icons, this pretty piece of glacier cardstock, and some of our little teeny tiny die cuts. Hopefully you have 2 cards made up with this, and I want you to take out this piece, the sun, and one of the 6-inch circle pieces that I sent you. And this is so that we can do the stamping on these all at the same time. Wow. I thought I grabbed a piece of mink. I grabbed a piece of something else, so ignore one of these. I'm going to turn that over to the lighter side. Okay, so let's start with the sponging here. And what I'd like you to do is sponge about 1/3 of the way up on the square piece, and on the 3-inch circle that I sent you, let's sponge about 1/3 of the way up on that as well. And that's going to be with the glacier. I love this blue. It's just nice and soft and pretty. So I'm going to put this one back aside. Now, we're going to stamp the sun with that little piece, this little texturized piece, and Sundance. And we're going to do both of those suns. And put one of your suns aside with the circle that we sponged. Next up, we have the stamp that's Sending Thoughts, and we're going to use that little circle border stamp again as well. That's a really good idea to make sure you have your stamp situated right side up as well. Another thing that I know from experience. Okay, now that we have these done, I'm going to give you some tips on the next thing that we're going to stamp, and that's this circle around the cutout. I ruined more than one of my cutouts because I thought the circle would come off of the carrier sheet and keep its same shape, because it has some little bracing on there that in my mind meant, oh, it's not going to collapse the shape on me, but it did indeed. So I'd like to give you some help here. I'll put one of these guys aside too. I'd like to give you some tips here on how to make that the right size. So I'm turning my carrier sheet over so that these other stamps are not in my way. And I'm also going to put some white underneath it so you can hopefully see a little better what I'm doing here. Now, if I just put this down on there like it would go onto my block, you can see these dark lines are outside of where the stamp curls up to. And we don't want that because that won't stamp around here perfectly. So what we need to do is line this stamp up with the lines. Whoops, you need to turn it upside down too, as if you're actually stamping with it. I just didn't do that. So line it up with those black lines. And once you've done that, go ahead and use your block and just pick it up with your block. And now it should perfectly fit around that area. Now the first time I did that, it took me a while, so let me know if it's taking you more than just a second or two. And this is also going to stamp in sapphire. I'm going to put a cushion back under this little guy. And when I go to stamp this, I might end up with my head in the way of the camera because I want to look down as much as I can on that and line it up as perfectly as I can. Most stamping doesn't have to be too exact, but sometimes when you're dealing with die cuts, you need to get it more exact than you imagine. So here we go. I think I'm a little bit, well, it's a little bit wonky to one side. Another thing that I can do, which I'm going to do for the second one, we're also going to stamp the one that we're turning into a shaker. I am going to turn this over. Now this has foam on the back, and a lot of consultants use that to do all of their stamping on because it gives you a little bit of cush and allows that stamp to, you know, if there's any bumps or anything, allows it to compensate for that. I like the black because it's a lot easier to see where I'm stamping when that black is there. Now, I am standing up right now, so if you suddenly think that I got louder, it's probably because my head is right by the phone. There we go. Voila! And let's start assembling. So our little paper with the little icons on it. You guys know how much I love this paper. You don't even have to know me very well to know that, because it's got a kayak and a tent and a coffee cup. That alone is like 9/10 of my life. Coffee, tenting, and what was the other thing? Kayaking. So, yeah. Okay. So the icon is going to lay down on top of that glacier piece. And then we're going to take that and lay it down on top of the card base. Make sure that whichever side you're opening it from, the icons are situated appropriately. Okay. Icons right side up. There we go. And this piece, we're going to pretty much line it up on the back there. And I'm going to give it just a little more color. This little sunshine here, we're going to attach that to the corner, like so. So let's just put a little bit of adhesive right there on that corner on the back side. And then put your sun down so most of it is actually on the other side. There we go. And then we also want to 3D pop this. Kind of take a look at how much this is going to leave around the edge, about 1/8 of an inch, and then use some of your 3D tape, your thin 3D tape, and put it inside that line that I just mentioned, that imaginary 1/8 of an inch line around here. And be careful not to have it showing through that window. This piece is a little big, for instance, so I'm going to trim it down and make sure that it's going to it on here. And then we'll just put some right here around the mountains. You know what I think I just might have done differently? These should probably go all the way out to the edge, because they're not only going to catch this piece, but we want it to catch on here too. So if you didn't put it all the way out to the edge, as I did not, add a little more tape there so that we get a nice, good grip to the edge. And I'm going to take a peek here. It is showing, so let's just trim it back a little bit. There we go. And while we're at it, let's put some down here in these corners in this open space. Take your square that you've sponged on, make sure that the blue side is down, and place it down so that it covers like so. Pretty, huh? And then we're going to take that and center it onto our card base with the papers that we've attached to it. Is that fun? I love this. I love it so, so much. I was literally squealing when I first saw this set in the catalog because I just love it. It's just so perfect. So I'm going to take this little cloud and I'm going to attach it right to the sun, because I put the sun already popped off the back, and that cloud doesn't need to be popped anymore than out farther than the sun. So just a little bit of tape right on the back and put it on the sun like so. And I'm pushing it down just to make sure it's stuck to the sun, but I didn't put any adhesive on this end, so it will continue to stay up above. And then we're going to put just a little bit of thin foam tape on the other little cloud. And put it on above, rather, one of the mountains. And I put my tape on a little crooked, so all you need to do if you do that is just trim it off. Look at it from the front, and if it's showing, just use those scissors and give it a little trim. And here's the other cloud. Okay. And that is card number 2. And you should have your pieces, your stamp pieces, all ready to go for the shaker cards, and we will get to those after we finish card number 4. Okay. I did not care for this card in the catalog because, I don't know, it just looked kind of odd here, but in person I love it. So I hope that you guys end up liking yours as much as I like this one. And I'm going to put another paper towel down because I'll be stamping off the edge. Let's go ahead and pull out our number 3 card pieces. Let's look at these pieces, and then we're going to go back to the last card for just a quick second. We have Glacier, the die cut, a piece of, you know, it says that's mink, but I don't think it is, or else I didn't read it right. A piece of the the zip strip, and a little cloud, and our card base. And the reason we're going to go back to the other card is I forgot glitter gems. And this is why I wrote notes for myself, so I wouldn't forget anything. But we need to add some glitter gems to this. And the way they show it in the instructions is a couple of the large ones right up at the top of the card. I think they actually show them going off the edge, but I'm not real crazy about that idea because I know I would catch them, snag them on something, and they'd go flying and I'd never see them again. So I put them totally on the paper. There, now does it look finished? And we're going to do more stamping around the card base with the Glacier ink and our fun little texture piece. This is really, I like how subtle this looks. It's really a nice look. And this would be fun to use on any card that you make. Always think about your stamps that you have on hand. They don't have to go together with each other all the time. They can be mixed and matched and used in many different ways. So this would be a fun one to keep in mind when you're doing other card projects. I'm going to kind of like stamp around the clock on this because I don't want to have to do too much overlap. And by going around this way, I can just pretty much line it up as I go. And in a moment, we'll get to where I would have some overlap. And I'm just going to put a piece of paper down and stamp right on it, and no overlap. And the next thing we're going to do is sponge on the skyline here. Okay, now we also want to get as much of that blue out of the sponge as we can, and that's not hard to do. If you tap some into your ink that we're sponging next, that will help take it out. Okay, so here we go. We're not going to stamp this one until we do this other assembly, just to make sure we don't put it in a position that looks awkward where this ends up. Now, if you have read the instructions from the kit, it says, and this just cracks me up, this is the only reason I'm telling you this, it says to attach this piece to this piece, and don't put any glue under here because we're going to slip something under it later. And the very next step is to slip this piece under it. And I'm like, why don't we just attach this piece first? So that's what we're going to do. Go ahead and put some adhesive on that little piece of zip strip that you cut, and put it so it's about halfway down. About half of it will stick up over the edge here. You can probably see that. And then we're going to take the Glacier piece and attach it right on top of that, so we don't have to worry about not putting adhesive on all four edges. You can just adhesivize that thing right up. I just made up that word. Do you like it? Adhesivize. And lay it down. There we go. And then that will be pretty much centered right onto the card base that we just stamped on. Isn't that pretty? I love this. Center it. And then guess what we're going to do with this? We are going to add some 3D foam tape. Thin 3D foam tape. Now we have our thin 3D foam tape on the back of that. We're going to attach a sun right about there. So let's put our adhesive on there. Yep, did that well. And then I'm getting really good at these little itty bitty clouds. How about you guys? Thin foam tape on there. Now go ahead and remove these little backings. And this is going to go more towards the top than the center, but leaving about, oh, I'd say 3/4 of an inch, and then just center it from side to side. There we are. Now, You Brighten My Day is the next stamp we want to use. And we're going to stamp this in sapphire. And there's going to be a couple little gems right below it, so you might want to not put it too close to the bottom. I gave myself an extra challenge here. I put it on the block crooked, so I had to try to stamp it straight even though the block was crooked, and that was, like I said, it was like a little extra challenge. All right, let's grab those gems. I'm going to put 2 big ones down here. And a small one on the sun. I don't know why, I just really like that one on the sun. Okay, that is our card number 3. Love this one so much, which just still right to this minute surprises me. Let's move along to card number 4. And this one, we also are going to have some extra stamping to do, because this is the one that we're also going to do a second design, making it a shaker card. We have these 3 pieces that sort of make up our sentiment area, and a couple of clouds, and a moon, and a skyline. Now, out of another card that makes the same card set, I want you to pull out the 2 clouds and this white piece, and then another one of your 3-inch circles that I sent you, and we'll be doing some things with them as well. Okay, so we're going to start off with this one by sponging in our glacier color. And once again, we're going to need to get rid of the color that's on our sponge, or if you have your whole round sponge, you can just cut another piece out of it. And like I said, just when you're done using these, just take them to your sink and add like a drop of dish soap to them, and run them under cold water and just keep squeezing out the ink. And when your water runs clear, you've got a clean sponge that you can just use next time. So, pick up your card, make sure it's opening the correct way, and just lightly sponge all 4 edges of your card. There's a little more sponging on here when you have this piece in place. Where the moon is and where this other cloud is are also places that we want a little bit of the color there. It doesn't have to be much. So, see, it's like that, but I'm going to... So take your 3-inch piece, your 3-inch circle, and just do a couple spots of sponging on it as well. And that can go back up out of the way for a minute. And let's see, we need this little piece again, and we're going to do all 4 of these little clouds at one time. Now, I don't know if we can do them all at one time, but we're again going to use the glacier and stamp on those little clouds. And it's not something that shows up a whole lot, but it's enough to just make it a little more special. You know how it is with these tiny little touches. You never know how awesome the whole thing is until you have all those little pieces come together. They are small. I keep losing them. I'm kind of glad to be getting this class done because I've lost so many of them. Okay. So all 4 of those are done. 2 are going back up with that 3-inch circle. And then we have this piece. And this piece has, I think, my lucky stars for you. All right, so I'm going to stamp this right in the center. There's one. There's 2. There's a little tiny, tiny star on your stamp set. It's like an asterisk style star. And we are going to use the light blue or the glacier and stamp that on both sides of this sentiment. There we go. Let's start assembly here by popping this piece up with our 3D foam tape. Okay, now that we have the 3D foam tape on the back of here, we want to center it onto our card. Make sure you're using the side that you've sponged and make sure that it opens as a right-handed card would. And there we go. Now we're going to just real quickly get this moon and clouds onto this card because if we don't, I'll lose them again. And I'm putting these flat this time. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're just going to be flat. And I'm using these places that we did a little bit of light sponging as backgrounds for behind the clouds and the moon. That tends to give it a little more of a 3D effect. There we go. Now, if you still have 2 of these on your table in front of you, put one of them with your 3-inch circle, okay? We're going to center one of these sentiments on top of the Sundance paper. See, I can remember it now. And if you like that paper, it's retiring. No, it's not. No, it's not. Never mind. It's staying. There's a different yellow that's retiring. I was thinking it was Sundance, but Canary is retiring. Okay, and then we're going to put 2 of our little gems. They are here. Okay. 2 of our gems on either side of that little asterisk style star. And You know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and pop this one too. Okay, so this one will just fit right across from edge to edge of the blue. And then this little tiny piece, we're going to put some adhesive on the back, and then we're just going to slide it just barely underneath that blue so that it peeks out, but it's going to be flat onto the blue. And believe it or not, I can tell which side is up because there's a coffee cup and it's got steam coming off of it. And you all know how much I love my coffee. Got mine on here just a little crooked, so I'm just gonna cut a little bit off right there. And there we are. Do you like it? We are going to start the shaker cards. And I have a feeling that I did not give you a complete list of things that you might want to have on hand for shaker cards. So I apologize in advance. Here's the shaker card. I just love this. It's something that my second downline had posted on her Facebook page, and I just thought it was adorable. So I had to steal the idea from her. I think I was saying that I wish this was my idea, but it's not. It's an idea that I borrowed from another consultant. And I always want to be fair and give credit where credit's due. So we're going to do, well, this was, I think, card number 2. And what we need for this time, I'll put my little cloud up there. If you were purchasing the kits from me, I sent you a piece of adhesive that is designed for shaker kits, and a round piece of acetate, also designed for our shaker cards. You've probably cut one of these squares. You won't need it this time because the round piece that I sent you will take that place. Here's my other little cloud. And all right, guys, there's supposed to be a sun in here. Yes, I did. Ah, that's where it is. Thank you, Virginia. You're my brain. Okay, we need this. Oh, man. And the sun and this piece. There we go. These are all the pieces we need together now. And just to get them out of my way, if you've made cards with me before, you know how much I like to put things where they belong just to get them out of my way in terms of attaching them to cards and things like that. There we go. So this and your sun and your clouds can be put aside for a minute, and we are going to work on these pieces. Now, what I didn't mention that you might wish you had, and I hope you have something close by. So I use my piercing tool for the next part. I think you could also, I haven't tried this, but I think you could also use a pair of scissors, such as just have one point out, or a little X-Acto knife. Now I'll tell you what it is we're going to do. I'm going to take this piece that has the foam tape for the shaker card, and I'm going to drag my piercing tool all the way around the inside of the circle. And this is going to do two things. It's going to make sure that that foam tape is well cut from the little squares that are inside. One thing I love about the shaker foam tapes is that you always have so much left over that you can do other things with. And I tend to just drag it around like 2 or 3 times until it goes clear through the bottom carrier. And the reason I do this is because if you try to pull it off of here without making sure that there's still paper attached, it tends to go a little wonky on you and doesn't really keep a good, nice round circle shape. So if you can see on the back here, I've drug that piercing tool through most of it, but there's some places that I haven't gotten clear through the paper yet, so I'm just going to use my scissors and cut this part. And then pull this ring off. And this is what we're going to use. This, we will use part of it, but you'll still have at least half of it left over to use on other projects. So it's kind of like a little extra that you get as a bonus here. So first things first, we're going to pull off one side of the adhesive cover. Doesn't matter which, front or back. And we're going to place that down on our 3-inch circle that we've sponged on. I want it just to follow the edges of that. And if it doesn't follow exactly, it's okay, because this is going to be hidden underneath this other piece that we stamped on, like so. Only the blue part's going to be at the bottom, remember? Okay. Now, the other thing that I should have said, it would be good to have this handy, is an anti-static pouch. And this is the same thing you use when you're embossing to keep your embossing powder from sticking to things. Just a little pouch filled with some kind of powder, and you want to pat that really well inside that circle. It's going to do a couple things here. It's going to keep your sequins from getting all staticky when we put them in there, and it also is going to kind of take away the stickiness from any of the glue that's on the foam tape that might still be hanging around inside there. Okay, now the next thing we have is, can you see this? It's clear, I don't know. The acetate piece. And this has a covering on one side, and the way you can figure out which side it is just put your fingernail on it, and one side it's just a plastic coating, piece of plastic. One side you'll make that plastic kind of wrinkle up or something. So you're going to do is pull it back a little bit like that, so you know which side it's the plastic on. You don't want to put the plastic side down, because then you'll never be able to take it off. So side that the plastic's not on, I want you to go ahead and hit that with your anti-static pouch too. And I'm sorry if you don't have a pouch available, because I really should have told you that we would be using that. Okay, now I sent you some sequins, loose sequins, and so you want to use about half of these in this, or maybe less. You can't use more, but sometimes more is not better. So you want to make sure you have few enough that they can actually move around and shake. Oh my goodness, I have a cat trying to come in here. Hi, Zuzu. These are the Bluebell sequins, and Bluebell will retire at the end of August. I love these. These are my favorite color of sequins. I'm going to be ordering some extras, and I suggest if you like them, you get some extras yourself, because they are so pretty. Oh, hi there. And then I also put some of these little silver stars in there. I'm not sure that people want you in their picture, okay? Go away. Go away. Okay, then just kind of give that a little shake to get them kind of flattened out a little bit. And then we're going to take off the top piece of backing. What are you doing behind me, Zuzu? I hear you getting into something. These cats. So what we're doing basically is we are just making the shaker part completely separate from the card. My original idea was to like attach it right on the card, but I think this way is a little bit easier to know exactly where it's going to go. And this way we know we can place it exactly where we want it after it's put together and not be hoping we get it right. Okay, so Zuzu. So then just put your plastic piece down on top and pull off that covering, and then run your finger around the edge. Make sure you got a good, ow, no claws, a good tight seal around there, and then shake it a little bit. Make sure everything's moving good. Sometimes you'll get one that is sideways, and that's very easy to take care of. If you have a piercing tool, you can just pierce right through that foam tape and knock it, you know, down from being sideways, and it won't hurt anything. Okay, so now this and this. Okay, we're going to add the sun to this the same way we did on the first one by putting a little bit of tape right here on the corner, the inside, backside corner, and then putting the sun there. Oops, you know what? I like my sun, the stamping on it, to go horizontally. So if you're picky like that, you might have to pick it up from that side. Okay, and we can put the clouds on afterwards. This piece is also to be sponged with glacier around the edges, so let me do that real fast. So you want this to be placed so that you really can't see it from the top side. And what I'm going to do is put some adhesive all the way around this mountainous kind of part. And you want to make sure that you have the side that you sponged towards the mountains and not the sky. Oops. There we go. Now, when you turn it over, we're going to do the same thing with the glue on the back of the shaker part. You really only need to do it around the edge. If you do it in the center, that part's going to be have a little give to it. And then we're going to take some of these squares that are left over from the center, and we are going to use them on the bottom part of the card to attach it to the base. And if you want to, some of these pieces, I'm sorry, I keep working closer and closer to myself, which tends to get out of the view. Some of these little pieces on the circle you can put in the upper corners because they don't take up so much room. There we go. And I'm going to put a couple pieces there and there as well. Okay, now this will be centered onto this. And we have our little clouds hanging out on the washi tape. So, are you all following me with the shaker card, or are you planning maybe to do it later? Because if you're following me, I'd like to know how it's going. Is it working out okay? This one, it seems like it needs more sequins, because when they're all down below, they're really pretty hidden behind the mountain. But I think too many sequins sometimes is not as effective as just enough sequins. So there's our first shaker. I really hope you like this as much as I do, because I am just really taken with this card. So we have our foam and our acetate. We have our city skyline up, set aside. You should have, see, I remembered this time. You should have your 3-inch square. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a circle. Couple of clouds that we've stamped on. And some other little pieces like this. Okay, so let's just go ahead and attach our sentiment to the Sundance piece. We will wait and put those things on last. And we can put this on here now. And then the little icon piece just goes right up against the bottom there. And now 2 little tiny gold glitter gems. Like so. Okay, I'm going to set that aside, and we are going to make our shaker now. And basically we're going to do just what we did before. So with something that's somewhat sharp, just drag it, whoops, around the inside of the outer circle. And you know, we have shaker die cuts that fit this perfectly. It gives you a frame for the top, the 3-inch bottom, and even some pieces that you can cut confetti with to go inside the shaker. So we have circles, we have hearts, we have stars, and rectangles, and squares. So there's a lot of different shakers that you can do with our products, and each one of those has the foam tape that fits it. So there's foam tape in the shape of a heart, which, how awesome is that? There is foam tape in the shape of a star. So any kind of shaker that you want to do, we have those dies and supplies that go with them. So here we are with this piece again. I'm going to just pat this real well with, whew, sometimes I think maybe I do a little too well with that. And let's find out which side has that on it. So the other side will get patted. And pretty little bluebell sequins. Those sequins really last a long time, even if you're doing shakers with them. It doesn't seem like they give you that much, but then when you put them in the shakers, they go a long way. So, I'm going to shake it out a little bit. The other reason to shake it out is it gives you a better idea of how much you actually have in there when you're shaking the card. So if you shake it out a little bit and it doesn't look like enough, then that's the perfect time to put in another pinch. Like so. Okay, let's remove the magic. Oh no, I have little stars just jumping right up on that edge. And so they're gonna come between me. Did I do that already? I'm pretty sure I did. I'm just gonna do it again. And if I didn't, then that's even better. Okay, I'll take off the plastic after we put it on. Wait. Whoa! I did the wrong side. See, this is why you gotta make sure you know which side that plastic comes off of. Okay, put this on. Well, I have done lots of these without using that anti-static pouch, and when you go down to put it on to the adhesive, man, those little sequins just go. It's like they have a life of their own, like Mexican jumping beans or something. They just jump right up to that plastic, and that isn't that good of a thing. Okay. Now this could be a little more challenging, trying to remember which side was up or down. But we will turn this over and put some adhesive all the way around here. I'm going to leave the tops of the skyline unglued because I'm going to slip that moon behind there just a tad. And then come back and put this right on top there. Okay, so let's do the moon behind that building just a little bit. Like so. And our little clouds. Oops. Like so. And like so. Okay. Whee! Squeeze, squeeze. Okay, let's turn that over, and I'm just going to go back to this original one and keep this one as a whole piece of foam tape to use in the future. Okay, and then we will just attach this to the front of our card base. And there we go. So I hope that you have all enjoyed this tonight. I think these cards are amazing, and I especially like being able to move this around and make it into a shaker card. So thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them on just in Betsy's paper craft room or on this video, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for joining me. See y'all next time.